Okay guys, in today's video we're going to be going over a few maintenance items on the Broaster so that we can make sure it runs as long as possible for the entire life of the machine. We're going to touch on filtration, cleaning, O-ring replacements, and well cleaning. So let's get right into it. Alright, the first thing we're going to be doing is setting up the filter pan on your brand new Broaster 1800 Smart Touch. Start by taking off the front cover with the condensate pan, put it off to the side. The filter pan is found underneath the machine. You pull it on the handle, it slides out on the rails, and it can just come to the ground like that. Each of the Broasters that we ship come with 3 filter pan O-rings. One of them is installed, and the other 2 are here for backup. When this one wears and needs replacement, it can be slid forward. Our first step is taking off the lid. So we lift up, push it towards the spout, and then take it out like this. That can go off to the side. Then we take out our weighted ring. We can put that to the side as well. And the last component that's in there is our grate at the bottom. We put that off to the side for now as well. Now we bring in our filter paper that ships with your machine. There are 100 sheets in this box, and the way they're oriented in the box is how we're going to use them in the filter pan. Pull out the top one. On the edges, there's pre-folded lines, so we'll fold it up on each edge. And before this goes in, the first component is that grate. There are 2 alignment holes. This goes at the bottom of the pan, and it's an extremely important component. Without this, filtering doesn't work. So that goes down, our paper goes on top of that, and that's followed by our weighted ring. We sneak that in under like this. What this does is holds the paper down so that the filtration powder in the paper doesn't float up when the pan fills with oil. And then we get our filter powder. It's called BroClean Filtration Media. Open the box. We're going to put 2 cups in for the 1800. And just spread it out as evenly as you can. And that's done. And finish by putting on our lid. The lid has to go on in this fashion. So we have to put it up against the spigot, put the back side under the lip here, and then slide it back into place. And that secures the lid so that it doesn't slide out when we get it in and out of the machine. So now that the lid is on, we can just bring the pan close to the machine, and we put it back in by aligning this bottom rail with the bottom rail on the frame. So we lift it up just about an inch, slide it in, and we can finish with one hand. And the oil return line is self-aligning, so it'll find where it has to go. Just like that. And we can replace our cover, and we're ready to filter. All right, now we're gonna go through filtering your Broaster. It's been 5 cook cycles, so it is time to filter the oil, get those crumbs out of there, clean it up, and make it ready to cook again. So the most important part of the filtration process is that the temperature of the oil has to be above 300 degrees. If you don't have it at that temperature, the filtration will not work, and you run the risk of damaging the machine, and you also will void your warranty. Our first step is removing the basket from the oil and letting it drip. So we put it on the resting post. Basket sits just like that. While that's dripping, we're changing the mode on the fryer to filter mode using the tab at the top. This turns off the burner so we don't damage the cooking well when it's empty from oil, and it allows us to start the pump when we're ready. Now that the basket's drained for a few seconds, give it a little shake, and then we put it off and we can clean this in a commercial dish machine. Next, we're gonna grab our tools. We have our scrub brush and our ramrod. The ramrod's gonna go off to the side for a second, and we're gonna use the scrub brush to clean the crumb line that's created from all the cooking. So we go into the oil, get some oil on it, and we're just gonna scrub around the edge of the well for a few seconds. Okay, and that removed and loosened some of the crumbs, and it allowed the crumbs to fall right into the oil. Before taking this out, I'm giving it a good stir, just so that we can get the all the loose sediment moving in the oil. Okay, so our scrub brush is now gonna go off to the side, and we get our ramrod ready to put our XL filtration compound into the well. We need 10 ounces of this for the Broaster 1800. We've got a measuring cup that we made in here. And we're gonna slowly add this to the oil, right down close to the surface. The XL filtration compound binds to the impurities in the oil, and you'll notice an actual difference when you finish the filtering process, that the oil will come up lighter in color, and overall it's gonna extend the life of your oil to save you money. Once that's in, we give it a really good stir with our ramrod. And once that's stirred up really well, we let the ramrod rest in the well, remove our front cover that has condensate pan, and after cooking 5 cycles, we will have condensation in the pan. So that goes off again into a commercial dish machine. And now we can open our drain valve. Before opening the drain valve, we want to always verify that our filter pan is set up, because once you open that, there's no going back. Pull it out, just visually check that you do have a pan there, number one. It's got some powder in it, which means you've set it up with the paper and the grate underneath the paper. Once you've verified that, it can go back in, and we're free to open our drain valve and let the oil fall into the filter pan and start the process. If the oil doesn't drain immediately, that's okay, it's natural. That just means there's some breading in the way of the drain, and that's why our ramrod comes in so handy. So we use this to coax the breading through the center of the cooking well hole and work it down to the filter pan. Okay, so we've freed up the breading. It's really important to keep the oil moving through this whole process so it brings all the impurities with it and they can get left on the filter paper down below. Once this is empty, we shouldn't see any crumbs or loose items in the bottom of the well. That means we've done our job, we've cleaned the well properly so that when that clean, fresh oil comes up from the bottom, it's going to be ready to cook with no sediment in it whatsoever. Now that we're empty, we're going to hit the start pump button, and that's going to start the pump. What that's going to do is bring the filter pan into play and draw the oil through the filter paper, through the BroClean, and also let it mix in even further with that XL filtration compound and increase the lightness of the oil. So we hit start pump. And for the beginning of the process, we actually leave the drain valve open for what we call polishing. And that allows the oil to come up into the well, drop back through the drain valve, and go through the filtration process multiple times before we allow it to come up and stay in the cooking well. And now our ramrod's finished with, we can put it off to the side. We want to polish the oil for anywhere from 30 seconds up to 5 minutes, depending on how many cook cycles you've let pass before filtering. You can also consider if you've done double breaded or double coated chicken, it's going to have a lot more fall off and be a lot harder on the oil. So if you know that your oil needs a little bit extra love or a little extra filtration, you can let it go for that long. This oil, we weren't too hard on it, and I'm ready to close the drain valve. So I'm going to let the pump continue to run and close the drain valve, allowing the cooking well to fill up. Now that our filtration process is coming to an end, we're going to hear a loud bubbling noise from the cooking well, and that means there's no more oil to draw from the filter pan. So that's a good sign. And at that point, we can hit stop pump. Then we use the controller to return to cook. With the back arrow, it's going to tell us to check our oil level, and the best way to do that is with the basket. So we get our basket that's been cleaned, bring that back in, it goes right into the oil, and our oil level is right at our fill line. So then we can hit OK and go into cooking. Finally, we're going to replace our front cover with our condensate drip pan. This had the condensed steam, mostly water, a little bit of grease in there. This goes into your sink that's connected to a grease trap in the plumbing. This would never go back into the cooking well. So this goes in, just slides on like that, and this hinges on the front of the machine just like this. And that's the end of our filtration process. All right, now we're going to go over the simple process of changing or cleaning your O-ring on the Broaster lid. So we pull the lid to about halfway position, use 2 fingers to lift up on the left side, and it hinges over, and it'll lean on the machine beside it or the wall or whatever you have beside it. It's okay to rest it like that. Once it's in the resting position, we rotate the handle to expose the lid, and then we use our O-ring tool. You get 2 with every Broaster. One comes in the machine, one comes in your accessory kit. It's got 2 ends. One is the rounded end, one's the square end. Our first tool is the rounded end. And we go in, pop the O-ring, just loosen it off, and it comes right off. This can be brought over and cleaned with warm water, not using any detergent whatsoever because that would break the gasket down. So we clean it off to the side. When that's ready to be reinstalled, we use the square end of the O-ring tool, and we can clean out the groove all the way around the lid, just like that. And there will be some buildup over the course of weeks or months, so you want to keep that clean and ensure you have a really good pressure seal during a cook cycle. When the O-ring's ready to be replaced, we're going to take it and we're going to actually lubricate it with some cooking oil, preferably not hot. So I'll use this machine here. So we run it through just to get it nicely covered with the cooking oil, and that way it'll work very well as a seal. Let it drip off a little extra, and we don't need any tools to replace it. We just put it back on like this, follow it around, and it'll snap into place. Before we lower this down, we want to retract the lid. If we were to try doing it like this, it's going to contact here and not be able to close. So we tip it over just a little bit, rotate the handle back, and that recesses the lid. Now we're ready to go back down to the deck of the Broaster, and you just hold it really tight because it does have some weight to it. Hold it tight, go slowly, let it rest. We can pull out our handle and just work it in and out of the cooking well a couple of times. to make sure it's lubricated properly. And that's how you replace the O-ring on the top, on the lid of an 1800 Broaster. So next we're going to show you how to change the O-ring on your filter pan. This is a good example of a very inexpensive part that's going to ensure the Broaster operates properly. So we take off the condensate cover again, pull out our filter pan, and again, each machine we stock with 2 extra O-rings right on the oil return line. So let's say in the case that the one that's in service gets damaged, we're going to cut this one off. We can easily just pull the next one into service. So separate these 2 and just slide it in, and you're ready to go. If you feel that it's not creating a good seal, it's not necessarily damaged, but you might want to replace it, it's easy to get off. We just pinch it upward and then slide it off the front of the return, and we can roll the next one in place. If you run out of O-rings, it's always good to have 3 or 6 in stock. They cost less than $1 each. And again, filtration doesn't work without this simple little part that's a wearable. Now the filter pan's ready to be replaced. It slides into the machine, and we put our cover back on, and rocking and rolling. Okay, let's get into draining the cooking well. So this is when the oil is spent. It's reached that level of darkness and smell that you just don't want to serve chicken out of to your customers. First thing we do is we make sure the fryer's off. If we were to empty the cooking well and leave the burner on, it's going to damage the machine permanently and possibly cause a fire. So you want to make sure the machine is off before you empty the cooking well. We take the front condensate pan off again. We pull our filter pan out, and now we're just literally going to put it off to the side. Instead of that being down there, we're going to replace it with our drain bucket. This drain bucket only holds about half of the oil that's in the cooking well. So it's a really bad idea to put it under there, open the drain valve and walk away. Keep an eye on it. So we slide it under. You can see the drain valve, so as long as you get it anywhere over top of any part of the bucket, you're gonna be fine. So we open our drain valve. You can hear the oil coming down, good indication. Keep an eye on the level. We'll get it to about 3/4 full. And at that point, we will shut the drain valve, pull this out from underneath. This is very warm. Go in for our last batch here. Open the drain valve again, let it come out. So this is going to be done on a weekly basis or every 5 days, depending on your volume of chicken. It's really going to change from restaurant to restaurant. So keep an eye on your oil, the quality of it, and how good the coloring is. And when it gets to the point that you think it needs to be drained and changed to fresh oil, that's when you're going to do it. So now our drain valve is closed, our cooking well is empty. We're going to leave our filter pan off to the side for cleaning, and we're going to move into the cooking well cleaner portion. It's a detergent that we use with water inside the cooking well to get the metal as clean as possible and ready for a fresh batch of cooking oil. All right, let's get right into the cooking well cleaning portion. This is the cooking well cleaner detergent. We have it ready to go with the tools. And what we've done with the Broaster so far is drain the oil. All of our spent cooking oil has been disposed of safely. We've unplugged the machine from power so it doesn't get turned on accidentally. And now we're going to use the cleaning flag that comes in every case of well cleaner. I'm gonna put that right here on the knuckle on top of the machine. And that'll prevent anyone from trying to close the lid or maybe putting chicken in the machine in case they're not paying attention to what's going on. So after our flag is installed, we can remove the probe guard from inside the well. We're going to use a 7/16 socket on a ratchet so we can reach the bolts. All right, so we've taken off the 2 7/16 head bolts, and now our probe guard is free. And we'll take this off. It might have some sediment behind it. This is gonna go to the dish station, get cleaned up, and allow the cooking well cleaner to get behind it and clean around the probes. For the Broaster 1800, we're gonna use 5 scoops of well cleaner, along with hot water, and we're gonna fill the well up to 5 inches below the rim. So right below the rim, 5 inches. And we're gonna do as hot as water as we can produce from the tap, and that we have right here. Drain valve is closed. Now we're ready to add the well cleaner. So like I said, 5 scoops. And now we can stir it with the ramrod. Let it dissolve. And this should be done for a minimum of 15 minutes. So we let it sit in there. It's gonna peel anything that's on the well, peel it off of it. The more often you do this, the better shape the broaster's gonna stay in, and the longer it's going to last. It stays in there 15 minutes minimum. You can do it overnight if you like. You can do it for 1 hour, but like I said, the longer the better. So once you have the 5 scoops of well cleaner in the well with the hot water, you want to let that sit for a minimum of 15 minutes, up to 24 hours. And the longer that you leave it, the better job it's going to do. We're gonna let it sit for about a couple hours here, and when it's done, we'll drain it off, give the well a quick wipe, and it's ready to receive clean cooking oil. So we've drained out the cooking well cleaner mixed with water. Now we're gonna throw some fresh water into the cooking well, give it a quick scrub to get any last pieces off. So throw this in. Drain valve is obviously closed. And just loosen up anything that might have stuck to the well, comes off nice and easy. Okay, so now that we've agitated anything left off of the walls of the cooking well, we can drain that last bit of water out. Using our drain bucket, open the drain valve. So now that we've drained all the water out after the final rinse, we're going to plug the machine back in, which we've done, turn it on, and we'll go through this prompt and immediately go into the filter mode. And we're going to start the pump. And what we'll do here is basically, if a little bit of water got into the pump system at the base of the well, this will spit it out and allow it to be drained with the machine so it doesn't mix with the oil when it heats up a fresh batch. Quick pump like that, and we stop it, and we're all set. Let's close our drain valve. And we'll wipe up. Any water that's in the well just might react with the oil as it heats up, so we want to wipe it down, dry it off as much as we can. It also ensures we have a really nice clean starting point for our fresh oil. Now that we've finished the cooking well cleaning process, while you do this, it's best to clean the splash guard as well. And to do that, we pull it forward just a bit, can remove our cleaning flag, and unscrew these 2 thumb screws at the back. And once the thumb screws are out, they're captive screws, so they don't actually fall away. They'll stay in the machine. You don't have to worry about losing them. We can lift our handle a little bit here, pull this off, and this will slide up. You can rotate it upside down. And at this point, after a lot of cooking, this will be dirty. We'll be able to clean this out and keep it nice and clean, grease-free. And this is a safe thing to do when the machine is off and unplugged. Once you've cleaned the inside of this, you can flip it back over, slide it down the handle. There is a perfect alignment where it just fits right in. Goes on over top, and we can replace our thumb screws from the back. Before refilling with clean, fresh cooking oil, we're going to replace our probe guard. So we just sit it in place over top, align it with the threads. You can start it with your finger, go as far as you can. Then we can bring our tool in. So one thing that might happen over time after a lot of use is the slide rod that controls the lid might become loose. And it's fastened by a bolt that comes up through the deck from the bottom. To access that and tighten it again, we're gonna take off the side panel using a ratchet with a 7/16 socket and just 2 bolts, one located here, one located here. Now the side panel's free and it can just slide straight down. Pull the back of it off first and push it forward to release it from the machine. It can go off to the side. So now that our side panel's off, we can slide the lid back to notice that the slide rod is a little bit loose. And to tighten that, we're going to use a ratchet with an extension and a 1/2-inch socket this time. So this will line up right with where this goes down. Go in and just find the head of the bolt. We're going to slowly tighten it until it's just a little bit snug. When it's a little bit snug, we slide the lid forward to line it up with these pegs, and then we can tighten down the rod completely, and our lid will slide. The rod is secure, and we're ready to replace our side panel. We're going to show you how to troubleshoot an issue where the pump seems to be jammed or not turning because it's not returning oil back up into the cooking well. And this can happen if improper setup of the filtration pan happens and breading gets into the lines and is able to make it to the pump and stop it from spinning. So we can try to mechanically free that up using a flathead screwdriver and removing the rubber cap on the back of the machine. First, you can see our machine is unplugged so that nothing gets damaged or hurt. And we'll pry off this rubber cap. Put that off to the side. Make sure you put it in a safe place. And then we'll use our flathead screwdriver to turn the motor manually, clockwise, and then counterclockwise, to make sure that it's spinning freely. After that, we can replace the rubber cap and put our machine back in place for service. Now that our Broaster is all sparkling clean, filled with fresh cooking oil, there's one more step we want to follow on a regular basis to make sure that everything's operating properly, and that's wiping down the safety relief valve. It's located right beside the pressure valve on top of the lid, and by wiping that down often, you're ensuring that it always is in safe operation and mobile, ready to work if it ever has to. And that's it. So follow those steps to make sure your Broaster's running perfectly and it's ready for your next service. If you'd like more detail on what we do here at Kendale, find us at kendale.ca or follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.